Hey everyone, this time we read Metal Gear Solid by Ashley and Anthony Burch. So this one was pretty interesting. I really liked the way they did it with both authors, where they sort of play off each other both in the text and also in the footnotes. It was kind of an interesting way of doing things, and it just seemed to work really well. I haven't seen another one of these books do this, and I just really enjoyed the way they formatted this. So an example of the formatting is kind of how we'll say Ashley will make one point about something, or she'll talk a little bit about one of the characters that they examine in the game, and then Anthony will come back and kind of respond to what she had said, or add on a little bit to it, or provide his own perspective on it from when he was playing the game. It's kind of an interesting way to do it, and it feels a little bit like a conversation. So the book starts out with an explanation of who Hideo Kojima is, what the game is, and kind of their own background in the game. I like it, but I feel like they could have just jumped right ahead, because that sort of stood out a little bit for me. They weren't really, talking about this for the rest of the game. I felt like they were just setting it up for somebody who didn't know what the game was, or had never played them before, or didn't really know a whole lot about the series. They also talk about how they're going to be shitting on the game, and I kind of disagree with them. It didn't sound like they were doing that. It just sounded like they were critical of the game. I think part of the reason I don't see a huge problem with a lot of their criticisms is because I don't really have the same nostalgic feelings for this game. I don't have that same emotional connection to it. If I did, if this was one of my favorite series, I could see how somebody might get a little bit upset with what they're saying. So the part of this book that I really, really liked was when they get into breaking down each of the individual characters. And that was the part that I really, really saw as this is the best part of this book. And that's just because you have this nice back and forth between both Ashley and Anthony. They really go in depth into these characters, talk not only about their story arcs in the game, but kind of say, well, over the course of the game this changes. But looking at the first game in isolation, you can kind of see where it's not really, right, or it's not fair. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for this character. You can kind of point out some of the lazy writing where it's okay, this guy's been presented to you as a dick the entire time, and then right on his deathbed, we try to humanize them and make them better. The reason why I think it's important to mention that is because you can still like a game and then play it again and look back and kind of see some of the flaws in the game. And, to acknowledge that the game has flaws, but you like it because of those flaws, that's something that's kind of cool. I mean, I'm sure everybody has those games where they're I really liked this when I played it as a kid, and then when I played it again as an adult, I kind of see some of the issues with it, but that's part of the reason why I like the game. So throughout the book, Ashley and Anthony talk about the dialogue in the game. And one thing where I think they could have added something to this, which probably would have helped, helped their arguments and would have helped the comparisons for a lot of the characters and everything like that, is if they had looked at what the original Japanese version of the game said and then compared it to the English version. To kind of compare the translations. That might help to kind of shed some light on the clunky dialogue, to see, in the Japanese version it said this, and then it was translated to this in English, and that kind of creates some issues when you're trying to read through something, because not every translation works that well, and the game was released in the late 90s, where translation wasn't really a huge priority for some companies, and they really didn't, pay a lot of attention or anything like that. You can see examples of it. I'm gonna spare you guys my little meme sideshow this time. Maybe just the thing on translations, that was just something that I would have liked to see in there, but that's because I have issues and I really like languages and seeing how a good translation and a bad translation can come out, because I've done some terrible translations in my life. So while we do get some personal stories from both Ashley and Anthony about playing the game, it's really when we get to the end of the book where we talk about the influence of the game and particularly the influence that it had on both of them. When I first saw the title, I thought it was going to be influence, on a genre or influence on, video games in general. But I was really pleasantly surprised when it was, this is how this game kind of influenced me, or this is how the game influenced the both of us. It was a nice little thing to throw in at the end, and honestly, I know it's spread throughout the book as well, but I would have liked to have seen more of that added in there. It's just, something that I would have liked to have seen, but so this is a really great book. I honestly really like the way it's formatted, both with the footnotes where they're not really used as sources, they're used as kind of ways to inject a little bit of humor into the book. It just adds something a little bit different and kind of helps it stand out from the other boss fight books. That and the fact that it feels more like a conversation than just like your regular book where you're just reading off facts and everything like that. So I would definitely recommend this book to pretty much anybody. It's a spectacular read. I really love the conversational feel of it and everything else that I've mentioned before. So that's going to wrap it up, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and have a great day, everyone.